We learn in several ways, to the limited extent that we can fit things into neat categories. We learn through study, we learn through the Spirit, and we learn through our own experiences. My comments here focus on this third variety of knowledge which we should seek for and receive in the church, that which comes from experience. John 7:17 states, "If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of God, or whether I speak of myself." We learn by doing, by coming and seeing, by tasting, by smelling, by our own experience. This is the type of knowing described in Nephi's description of his father's vision of the tree of life in chapter 8 of 1 Nephi. His father learns of the goodness of the fruit through experience. "And it came to pass that I beheld a tree, whose fruit was desirable to make one happy. And it came to pass that I did go forth and partake of the fruit thereof, and I beheld that it was most sweet, above all that I ever before tasted. Yea, and I beheld that the fruit thereof was white, to exceed all the whiteness that I had ever seen. And as I partook of the fruit thereof, it filled my soul with exceedingly great joy, wherefore I began to be desirous that my family should partake of it also. For I knew that it was desirable above all other fruit." When we obey and live the principles of the gospel, we can come to know of the sweetness and truth of those principles because of their consequences. When we, through obedience, experience the love of God, our faith becomes knowledge because we no longer suppose that the fruit is good, but know, nothing doubting. I don't know anyone who has seriously followed the counsel of James 1:27. "Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world," and not realized that doing so was a profoundly good and joyful experience. In contrast, James also counsels us against failing to act in these ways, warning us that, in 2:17, "Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone." Part of why it is dead is because it does not inspire action in us, or if it does not inspire action in us, then we are deprived of the opportunity to experience the sweetness of doing the right thing, and in the process, this deprives us of the knowledge that implicitly comes with that sweetness, just as Laman and Lemuel were deprived of the knowledge that the fruit was good because of their unwillingness to partake of it. Doctrine and Covenants 58:30 through 32 shows us another way in which we gain this type of knowledge by obedience to the commandments of the Lord. Quote, "Who am I that made man, saith the Lord, that will hold him guiltless, that obeys not my commandments? Who am I, saith the Lord, that have promised and have not fulfilled? I command and men obey not. I revoke and they receive not the blessing." Many of us can attest that by following the promptings of the Spirit, we have seen amazing good things happen. And many of us also, unfortunately, can attest to times when we failed to listen, failed to receive or offer to others the blessing that might have been. But on both ends of this, we can gain knowledge of things as they are, as we watch the consequences of our actions, for good or for ill, and we can come to see the good that comes to ourselves and others as we choose to follow the Lord and obey his counsel. More broadly, Paul too recognizes this form of knowledge. Galatians 6:7 states, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not. And as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them that are of the household of faith." This is indeed the nature of this mortal experience and the central idea contained in the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Doctrine and Covenants 29:39 states, "And it must needs be that the devil should tempt the children of men, or they could not be agents unto themselves. For if they never should have bitter, they could not know the sweet." So by entering a world of opposites, we are enabled to learn from the consequences of our actions what is good and what is evil, because The evil leads to bitter consequences, and the good to sweet, much as the law of the harvest states. Now, not everything we sow will bloom perfectly, but it won't be hard for us ultimately to tell whether we've sown a bushel of wheat or a bushel of tares. Though it is important to realize that other people are also sowing things too, and we may frequently end up with both wheat and tares that we didn't plant. This is part of the value of Zion, by the way. If everyone is planting wheat, we all end up with a lot more wheat than when we're some of us planting wheat and others planting tares. May we all do good, treasure up and live by the words of the Lord, and come to taste the goodness, the sweetness of following them, that we may all truly, through our own experiences, or through our own experience, know the truth for ourselves.